Hi, good evening to all our friends and supporters. We're going to be discussing tonight the uh, the Trump ultimatum to Iran, the Trump deadline. He said the deadline expires by Tuesday evening, 8 o'clock. If there is no deal by then, all hell is breaking loose. Bridges, power plants, infrastructure in Iran will not be recognizable anymore. It will take, and he said, it will take at least 100 years to rebuild. We're going to be discussing that tonight. That's coming. That would happen on the last evening of Passover, in fact, or the second last evening of Passover. My mistake. And Mayor, I'm just, when I think about the Pesach story, we've already discussed it, that what will happen during the Seders. And there was a lot that happened, a lot of strikes against the Iranian regime, a lot of strikes against their proxies as well. Hezbollah and the IDF is certainly doing quite a job, and the Americans are stepping up to the plate, doing a lot of work as well against Iran. But we didn't know what to expect because President Trump gave a deadline then, and then he extended it and extended it again. And now it's extended this time. And I'm thinking, is this going to be it? That when we sit down again for the last two nights of Passover, are we going to sort of like re-experience when the Jews were crossing the sea and the Egyptians were pursuing them, and God made it that they drowned in the sea with all their weapons and everything? Is that what that's certainly what we're hoping for the Iranian regime, with their with the beating that they're taking. It's the same kind of insanity and obsessive, compulsive hate for the Jews that Pharaoh had, that the Iranian regime has for the Jewish people also. Bent on, it doesn't matter what the plagues are against them. I could use that term. How do you see it, Mayor?
Well, to use that analogy, I would hope that God would harden the heart of the modern day Pharaoh, because we need Trump to agree with Israel that the job needs to be finished. The
Right.
Iranian spokespeople today, whoever they might be, I think the spokespeople change from day to day because yesterday's spokespeople aren't around anymore. But they came out and they said that Trump, in his social media releases, rude. They referred to him as arrogant, and they referred to him, because of his press conferences, delusional. Now, Trump is not delusional. He's occasionally arrogant. And yes, he can be rude. But it's rather remarkable, coming from the fact that the spokespeople for a regime which killed anywhere between 42 and 48,000 of its own citizens, to all of a sudden be angry at an American president who might be rude, that they don't like his choice of language. They also claimed today that they are actually defeating the Americans and the Zionists. That's what they claim. That's all good and well. The one thing that we have to be concerned about with Trump has been, you and I have shared this many times on previous broadcasts, he's been a tremendous friend to Israel, a tremendous. If you do anytime you want to criticize Trump, which I often do, by the way,
Sure.
One has to consider the juxtaposition of what was before Trump or what might have been if it wasn't for Trump. We're talking about a Blinken, Biden, Harris administration, which embargoed Israel and which actually sent all kinds of support to the Iranians. The one thing that I'm concerned about is that Trump is sometimes naive and gullible, terms that I've used before. And we're hoping, when I mentioned, we hope that God hardens the heart of Pharaoh. We want Trump to be angry at that enemy. For Israel, the only viable conclusion to this conflict would be a regime change. The United States painstakingly tells us that it's not regime change, it's to defang them the ability to develop nuclear weapons and or ballistic missiles, even though there seems to be some ambiguity. There's some ambiguity, there was some ambivalence. It's a state of cognitive dissonance. And one must say about Trump, there is a certain measure of unpredictability. We don't know what he's going to do. If I may, I want to quickly throw a couple of things out. I know we do short. On March 25th, which is, I think, a few days after you and I did the last podcast, there was a position paper of sorts which was published by the United States government, which received virtually no publicity anywhere. I got it from Israel. And there was a 15-point plan, which was called the 15-point U.S. plan. And I don't have time to read all 15 and certainly not to analyze them, but I just want to mention a couple of them to show you this ambiguity, this confusion that sometimes comes from the White House. So permit me as I look down, point number 1, dismantle all existing nuclear capabilities. Okay, that's fine. Number 2, Iran needs to commit never to pursue nuclear weapons. Well, that's an easy thing for them to do. They don't have to be honest. In fact, when have we ever known the Muslim world in any conflict, even among themselves, to be honest? So as I read some of these points, I will give the spoiler and say the Iranians should say, yes, yes, sure, why not, okay, and yes, and have Trump back down. Because he has the tendency, if he believes the other side has been beaten into a capitulation, if nothing else, with a threat, that he might in fact see. So let me read number 3, no uranium enrichment on Iranian territory. What do you mean on Iranian territory? So across the border would be fine? If they got uranium enriched by North Korea or by Pakistan, which is trying to serve as a broker now, this is insane. Here, number 4, hand over 450 kilograms of highly enriched uranium to the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Are you kidding me? The agency that has failed Israel and the West time and time again. I'll just cut through the chase. Point number 6, grant full access to the IAEA. It's a joke. Access was never given to them with a previous arrangement that was made by the Obama administration. No military installation. And we later found out that there were 2 places where they were enriching that we didn't even know about. I'm going to jump ahead to point number 10, limit. Mind you, it doesn't end. The word is limit missile production program as far as its range and quantity. What do you mean? The Iranians, so they'll say, sure, we'll limit the range. This is the biggest one of all, point number 11. And one has to scratch their head in wonderment and say, was Trump actually serious when this was put to paper? Point number 11, any future missile use will be restricted to self-defense. Now, what are we kidding? Any future use of missiles by Iran will be, because the Iranians consider their war against the West to be a defensive war. They consider their assault against Israel with their proxies as a defensive struggle. And then finally, if the Iranians say, sure, that's all they have to do is buy time. Because we know from the example in Hezbollah with Iran before in June, and also with Hamas, what they need to do is buy time. That is what they do. When the boxer is about to be knocked out, he wants to buy time. So they want to buy time. If in fact they comply, or at least tell Trump that they're going to comply, here's what they get. Number 12, a full lifting of international sanctions against Iran. What? You've got to be kidding me. I mean, this sounds completely incongruous with what he said today and yesterday, that he's going to decimate them, whatever. And then number 13, U.S. support for a civilian nuclear program for Iran. I'm sorry, there seems to be a little confusion here. And the only thing that I can hope, and I don't say this as a strategic analyst, but rather someone who understands that it's personalities that drive foreign policy. That's all it is. It's personalities depending on who is in power. We're hoping that the Iranians aren't smart enough to tacitly say, you're right, that's it. Let's end the conflict. Let's negotiate a settlement. We're willing to accept some of these terms. And for Trump to think, I've got a 2026 midterm election coming. I'm losing some of the support of some of the people in America, even though there seems to be, contrary to what the leftist media tells us, majority support for this war. The thinking of some of the political strategists is that as long as the United States can clean everything up by June, that it might not affect that's what some opinions are, that it wouldn't affect the outcome of the election. But these are things, and especially you and I have spoken about it at least on 2 different occasions, is the price of gas in the United States. And
Right.
the average person in the United States doesn't understand the geostrategic implications or ramifications of a war in the Middle East. They look at how much they put in the gas tank. So even though we have everything to be happy about, there's reason to be concerned that Trump not preempt a victory by calling an end to the war that needs to be fought. That's it. For the Iranians, and I mentioned this, I think, before, Israel needs regime change. The United States wants the Middle East to be somewhat stabilized and for the nuclear capability to be taken away from Iran. And all the Iranian regime needs, because this is the MO of every single, is to survive. They need to survive. And the points that I just read, someone in Tehran is going to say, let's just pretend. I think it's a thing called takia.
Right, exactly.
Let's just pretend, claim that we are willing to negotiate some kind of settlement, that we want to be we want democratic, we want Jeffersonian democracy in Tehran. And Trump might back down, and I don't want that to happen.
So here we are, Israel dealing now with the threat from Iran, the threats from Iran and all their proxies. And this has been festering for years. And Netanyahu has been, I think it's safe to say now, the longest serving prime minister in Israel.
Correct.
How come it's now finally hitting back against Iran and their proxies? There's been quite a few years that have passed, and Netanyahu was on record. Iran is it's 1938. Iran is Germany, and with all their proxies surrounding. I know that Rabbi Kahana, when he was alive, spoke about preempting all these problems that exist, and now he's been proven 100% correct about even the people living in Gaza, the people living in Judea and Samaria. Others will call it the territories. Issues with Israeli Arabs, that you do have some Israeli Arabs, like guys like Yosef Haddad, very good, pro-Israel, but on the whole, the political parties of the Arab population in Israel are anti-Israel. These are facts.
Very much so.
And the government in Lebanon either not willing or incapable of doing anything about Hezbollah and whatever agreements were signed, and that the Israeli army under Barak, when he was short-term prime minister, fled from Lebanon quickly, and we got some kind of a peace deal, and we had this temporary government of Lapid and Bennett, and they seemed to sign some kind of a deal with Lebanon, including Hezbollah, and they were boasting about it. This is great for Israel, and we saw that all those moves were just ridiculous and just kicking the can a little bit down the road. So why is it that Netanyahu has been reluctant? And maybe I'm just supposing that the types of presidents that were in power in the United States with Obama and with Biden and other Democrats. That I mean, Obama served two terms, and he clearly did not like Netanyahu. And when you just, I mean, it's easy to make that kind of a statement. He didn't like him, a personality clash. No, a little bit more than that. That his first trip when he became president was to Egypt to
Right.
speak and to legitimize the Muslim Brotherhood.
Right. Yeah.
So, what is the reason why Netanyahu finally waited to now? And is it because you finally have a Donald Trump
Yeah.
in power that could be compared to Cyrus? That is that what's going on?
There've always been credible, and I say credible, reports from insiders in Israel that Bibi Netanyahu, notwithstanding this phony reputation of being a hard-line, far-right prime minister, which he certainly is not. At best, he's slightly right of center. At best,
Right.
These insiders, and as I said, credible, have always suggested that he was a coward, in pulling the trigger. The point that you made is absolutely the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that there was never an American administration which was as favorable of Israel taking action against Iran as they do now. So the question has to be answered, and it's only theoretical, and the answer will also only be theoretical or rhetorical at best, is what would have happened if Trump had not won the last election and the Iranians would have come that much closer to developing the bomb with a Kamala Harris who was viciously anti-Israel, pro-Iranian. There's no question about it. With a Blinken, around and so on and so forth. Would Israel not have said, notwithstanding the fact that the Americans are going to cut us off, this is it's an existential threat to Israel. We have to strike. That might have been the case. But the point that you bring is a very, very valid point. There's no question that Trump has actually allowed Israel to engage in conflict with Iran to the degree that it has. Mind you, I still think that to a certain degree, Israel's being held back. Israel could unleash a much greater fury than it has right now. Take a look at the way that Trump held back the Kurds from taking over. And just yesterday, he's criticizing the Kurds for having taken some of the weapons that he said were available for the Iranian citizens on ground. The point is, just to cut to the chase because of the clock, is there's no question that circumstances have been absolutely ideal for the United States to align themselves with Israel to a degree that no one understood existed. We see what happened to the so-called these faux allies in France and England and Spain and all these other, the European Union and NATO. They're a joke. And I hope, if nothing else, that Trump learns a major lesson from this, that he has one reliable ally in the world. It isn't South Korea, it's not Japan, it's Israel. And whereas they might be allies on another front, when it comes to that region, the region that Israel cannot afford to lose, Trump now recognizes who his friend is. The stipulation that I give again is that Trump sometimes thinks that he can, in fact, by virtue of his bombastic approach, somehow broker a peace. Not if the other side doesn't want to tango, he can't. And the best proof of it is, and we talked about it several times in previous broadcasts, is the Trump 20-point Gaza peace plan, in which all of a sudden Israel has been told to stand down. There is a ceasefire. Never mind that it isn't a perfect ceasefire. There's a ceasefire. And if you look at all the conditions, and all the Arabs have to do is pretend, the Arabs in Gaza is pretend that they're going to play along. And point number 19 stipulates that it'll be a pathway to self-determination and a state for the Palestinians. The point that I'm making is the last point is this, that even and when Iran is ended, the conflict, in whatever form that end comes, there's still two outstanding issues that need to be dealt with, and we don't like where we sit with them right now. The one is the future governance of Gaza, and the other is the the accelerated demand for a two-state delusion. Those two
Right.
have not been solved. They've not been solved, and Trump isn't fully where we want him to be on either of those issues.
100%. Listen, Mayor, we're running out of time. Last comments about this issue.
The last comment is that there seem to be two sides to Donald Trump. One side is a much more favorable one as far as our view, the geostrategic view of not only the region of the world. That's the Trump that seems to be prevailing. That's the Trump we want to prevail. We don't want him to be to believe that this is another real estate deal that can be negotiated. He has to come to understand that the people who believe that peace can be made with an implacable enemy that wants you dead haven't read the Quran or have not listened. You don't have to read the Quran and be an expert on that. Just go and listen to just read the English translation of the broadcast and the social media broadcasts made by the other side. And that should be enough for him to want to end that threat to the Western world.
Absolutely. Mayor, we're going to be sitting down tomorrow night for second last night of Pesach, and we'll see what happens with that deadline at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, whether it is moved, whether Trump moves ahead and
Boom!
decimates. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And by the way, before we went on, about 45 minutes prior to going live, Iran attacked Saudi Arabia. A major attack.
Yeah. And
so they're attacking Arab countries, and where's the voices?
Which brings another issue not to be
Where's
discussed
the UN? Where's the UN?
Right. Well, no, where are all those moderate Arab nations that have received billions of dollars of American military hardware? Where are they to suggest that they are pro-America in this war, that they are supporting Donald? They have billions and billions of dollars of American military hardware. Use it, guys. Use it.
Absolutely. Listen, as I'll conclude like this, as with the story of Purim, that King Achashverosh, he couldn't sleep one night. He had a hard time going to sleep, tossing and turning, and he decided he had to look at his book of chronicles of records and everything. Came across the story of Mordecai, who helped him, who helped his regime. And then he asked his advisors, what did we do for this Mordecai? Oh, we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. And that was the change that happened in that episode of Jewish history, of Jews living in Persia back then. We'll see what happens. Donald Trump is the kind of person that believes in loyalty, and he remembers.
Yeah.
And he looks around and he sees who's helping and who is not helping. And he sees Israel is there 110%.
Yeah. Okay.
Chag Sameach.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please
Thank
share
you.
this, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.